Now, Pokemon Go, the mobile game which has taken the globe by storm. Last week we talked about the polarizing, maybe not polarizing, just generally disliked changes that they brought, but this has nothing to do with that. This is more in line with the stories that we've heard of, politicians doing things like addressing concerns about how much private data the game has access to on your phone. Some people in New York, they basically asked Niantic to prevent registered sex offenders from using the game, which people's intentions are in the right place, but I kind of feel like if this game weren't that popular, no one would care for those things. But this is kind of going well far and beyond what we've had any country or government do so far in response to a mobile game. So Pokemon Go, what are we talking about? Pokemon Go has now been banned in Iran due to security concerns. And they don't get more specific than that. They just leave it at security concerns. This article was on Game Sutra. And they have some information from the BBC. According to this article, they say Iranian officials have been contemplating banning Pokemon Go for some time, but we're waiting to see whether or not its developers would cooperate with them in order to allay officials' yet unnamed fears. Presumably their concerns are somewhat in line with instigators of a recent class action lawsuit against Niantic regarding Pokemon Go's propensity to entice players onto private property in search of in-game Pokemon to capture and hotspots to visit. I don't know. To me, that's, I can understand. I can see China banning it for that reason, because they could be very controlling over what the public does. But Iran, I kind of feel like Iran is honestly banning it over the data that it's gathering, because the app does have access to a lot on your device, and if it's going all straight to Niantic, which is a spin-off company of Google, maybe they don't want the information going to them. Could be that. I kind of think it's ridiculous, though, and funny at the same time. What are your thoughts, Matt?
I don't have words. Like, I don't, I don't understand. Like, you can't just be like, oh, there are security concerns that we have with this game. I was like, oh, like what? Security concerns? Can you elaborate? No, but we don't want it here. Like, what? You, if if it was a huge problem, like people in Iran or like kids or adults in Iran were like actually purposely going onto private property to find these things, like,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a big problem. I can understand that because in here they said that Pokemon Go entices players onto private property in search for in-game Pokemon. It's like I'm sure there's a few places in America that have had problems with that, and even in Australia. I talked about this a couple podcasts ago. Like a police station had made an announcement in like a newspaper or an article that said, "Hey, you don't have to actually come onto our property to get the Pokespots. You just have to be in a certain vicinity." So,
Yeah.
and they handled it in a nice way. It wasn't like you're not allowed to come anywhere near here. It's you can get these without crossing over.
Yeah, and kind of feel like this was a misunderstanding that should have been cleared up after the first week of this game's release. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like anyone who actually thinks that you have to go into someone's house or go into their backyard to get to the Pokemon that you see on your screen, there's someone who has just started playing the game. And, they don't understand, you just have to tap on the Pokemon and you can take your chance at catching it. You don't have to be standing right on top of it.
Yeah. And I feel like here that was probably figured out within like you said, within the first week. It was I've even had some times where Pokemon have been outside of my circle or my little radar search. I've had them outside of that ring, and I've still been able to catch them. You don't have to be there. But the fact that it's just so vague, or that they're just so worried about something that they give no real reason to be worried about, is just kind of silly. And I don't know, it might just be like you said, they don't want Google figuring out where certain places are, because I don't know, sketchy things could be going on.
Yeah.
But I feel like if there was that big of a problem, companies should say something about it, or have actually, no, I don't think there should be. There shouldn't have to be a government worldwide message saying people playing Pokemon Go shouldn't trespass on private property. I feel like there's kind of
common sense.
Yeah, I think I said that one time. I crossed into a church parking lot, and it had one of those gates where it's two triangle things, and it was chained. But I
you
parked
can
my
clearly walk around it.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the day. It was in the I was right next to a busy street. I parked right in front of the gate. I just went around the gate, went over there, spun it around, got my Pokeballs, got back in my car, and I left. I don't really know if that's considered trespassing on private property, but plenty of cops go around there. I live in a neighborhood where cops are going past areas every 10 or 15 minutes. No one saw me. No one picked up the phone and was some kid's in the middle of a parking lot and he's just playing on his phone. I need a squad car or something down here to check it out. I'm no. There are certain places where I think if you don't go into the building of places, is it really hurting you?
I found when I was playing the game, I found that if you were inside buildings, fewer Pokemon would actually show up on your screen anyway. So you don't want to go into buildings if your aim is to capture Pokemon.
Yeah. If you have a big wall and a gate in front of your building, and it's clear we prefer no one, or we don't want anyone in here, and there are people crossing over and playing around, then that is clearly your right as the owner of that property to kick them out. They don't have to be. If there's nothing there, if there's literally just two posts and a little metal gate, and you can clearly walk around it, and there's no one there at the time, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And if they're not breaking into it, it should be fine.
Unless it is clearly posted no trespassing.
Yeah, I didn't see any signs or anything.
Yeah.
So I felt it was okay.
But I do get this very humorous image in my head about a couple of police officers being like, hands up, what are you doing here? And you're just I'm just here with my Pokeballs. Oh, I would pay to see that.
But yeah, I feel like Iran is just, they're making a big deal over something that's not even kind of a big deal. And in doing so, I feel like maybe some people might take it as a big deal.
Yeah. And it's just due to how successful it is, and how news breaking and noteworthy the game has been. I mean, honestly, when you really the sensationalized stories of oh, girl was crossing a street while playing Pokemon Go and got hit by a car and she's hospitalized, and that turned out to be completely, when you saw her interviewed, she wasn't actually playing the game, number one, and number two, she was crossing the street where she shouldn't have been crossing the street. And when you look at these stories about oh, the game, look what it's doing to people, it's making them do these horrible things, Not when you look at each story. They're just dumb people usually doing dumb things.
Did you hear what that girl's mother said?
Yes.
So many people have been like, oh, Pokemon Go is full of evil demons and it's taking over our children. We need to save them. They're taking over our churches. It's like, no.
Peanut Butter Gamer put out a really hilarious video about it too. It was.
Oh my gosh.
That's on a whole other level.
Oh my goodness. Some people are just. Ooh, some people.
Yeah. Some people. Some country governments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's as long as this app is going to be popular, there's going to be ridiculous news stories like this.
Yeah.